Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here tonight. All right, done. Hey, guys. Happy to be here tonight. Let me get these people up here and we'll get started here in a minute. Where's my Tim at?
Hello there.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, you? Are you ready to
Oh,
open the
good.
box?
Yep.
Good. Hi, Sally.
Hey, hey Marie,
Hi,
hey Aylin,
Marie.
hey everyone.
Hey, Shannon.
Hey Shannon.
Hey, Marie.
Are you here, Shannon? Are you coming
Hello.
up?
Lily. Katie, hi. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get Jesus out of the box tonight. We're going to get both of them out.
How are the
Okay,
boys
Shannon.
feeling, Marie?
I'm sorry?
Boys are doing good?
Yes, they are.
Oh, good. That's good to hear.
They've been everywhere today.
Yeah, busy, I'm sure.
Oh goodness, yes. So I'll be putting them to sleep as I return. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah.
Stop. Stop.
I don't know where Tim is. I haven't seen him yet.
Hi Mark.
Probably eating. It's
Yeah,
probably still
probably.
eating.
He'll probably be here in a minute.
Yeah.
Hey, Mark. I'm excited about this one tonight. And I know I put the Revelation on pause, guys. I had to. I needed another day or two on that second part. Third part. So this was something that Father just kind of threw in my lap and said, do it. So I'm doing it.
That's a good way to listen.
I'm giving it a couple more minutes because I was on about 5 minutes till, I think.
I shared the live with Tim just now.
So did I.
Okay. He'll be here in a minute then.
That's funny.
Hey, Tracy. Lily of the Valley. David, Mark.
Hey Tracy.
Thank you, Lady Marie. I'm going to turn the heat off for real quick so I don't get too hot.
Okay.
It's a little better for sound, too.
Tim is here.
That
You
thing
just
makes a
need
little
to
racket.
you need to
Okay.
invite him up.
Yeah. There we go. Alrighty. I have to tell y'all, I'm very excited about this one tonight. because I don't know. You know how Father just puts an idea in your head sometimes, and you just keep milling it around and milling it around. It's like I just see everybody just box Jesus in. It's like it felt like that he had walls on every side. Nobody can break through those walls because we've all been taught all this junk, all our lives. And I was sitting there, and then I stumbled across this crazy video, and I don't know even what made me watch it because I don't even watch contemporary Christian channels anymore. But I clicked on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, they really have been hiding this all this time. I was like, I cannot believe it. But what I'm going to show you tonight, I'm going to start with a couple of video clips, and then we'll go to, after that, we're going to go to the actual content of the stuff. But they did such a good job of explaining how they boxed him in that I'm going to share it. And for YouTube purposes, this is for educational purposes only, not trying to steal copyrights or nothing like that. I lined that up pretty good. Y'all tell me if you can't hear it, okay?
Can you turn it up a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Okay.
Now we're not hearing anything.
Okay. Alright, let me undo this one.
I have my phone turned all the way up and I'm having a hard time. But I have a ruptured eardrum, so.
Everything you do,
That's
Better.
much better.
Much better.
to sleeping, to praying, you do with both your body and your soul. So the one person who is Jesus Christ, and there's only one person, Jesus Christ. He has both a divine nature, that's his divinity, and he has a human nature comprised of a human's body and a human soul. Yet there are not two Jesuses, there's one Jesus. So you get the point. So everything then that Jesus does, from eating to sleeping to praying, he does with both his divine nature and his human nature, in the same way that everything you do body and everything you do, from eating.
Alright. Y'all get that? He wants you to know for sure there's only one. There cannot be two. Alright. Okay, this one will explain what they did and why they did it.
Studying Christology along with the early church is an important and exciting task. In these discussions, we see some of the earliest thinking about the person and work of Jesus Christ. Surveying the first four councils of the early church can also be a helpful aid in our understanding of the task of Christology. The fourth council at Chalcedon is particularly important. At Chalcedon, the leaders and theologians of the early church reached a consensus about the most faithful ways to express what we believe about the one person of Jesus Christ. The document that was produced at this council is called the Definition of Chalcedon, and it represents the culmination of many years of hard thinking about who God is and who Jesus is. By this point in history, too, all the hard questions that can be asked of the Trinity and Jesus had been asked, and all the major mistakes had been made and answered. From the formulations of Chalcedon, we can articulate the boundaries for thinking about Jesus. We can think of the statements in the Definition of Chalcedon in terms of a box. We could call it the Chalcedonian box. Each side of the box represents a Christological affirmation that identifies the outer boundaries of the biblical teaching about Jesus. These Chalcedonian categories can help us as we read the gospel narratives. So first, there's the upper boundary of the box. This represents the affirmation that Jesus is fully divine. Second, there's the lower boundary of the box. This represents the affirmation that Jesus is fully human. Third, there's the left boundary of the box. This represents the affirmation that Jesus is one person. And finally, there's the right boundary of this box, which represents the affirmation that Jesus has two natures. Together, these represent the major affirmations of the first four councils. Now, once we have these boundaries in place, we can see how they got there in the first place and also how they can be useful to us as interpreters. The upper boundary is established at the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. This council denied Arianism, which taught that Jesus was a creature created by the Father. Thus, Jesus was not fully God. The key theological assumption at this council was that only God can save us. If Jesus was not fully divine, then he could not save humanity, because as the scriptures teach, only God himself is mighty to save. This upper boundary was then firmly established. Jesus is fully divine. Now the lower boundary is established at the Second Council at Constantinople in 381 AD. This council denied Apollinarianism, which taught that Jesus had a human body, but not a human mind or a human soul. If what Apollinarius taught was true, then Jesus was not truly human. For the theologians at this council, this was unacceptable. The key theological assumption here was, what is not assumed is not healed. They reasoned like this: if every part of humanity was corrupted by sin, then Christ must assume every part of humanity in order to redeem it. In order for Jesus to save humanity, he must have had a human experience. This lower boundary was then firmly established. Jesus is fully human. The boundary on the left side is established at the Third Council at Ephesus in 431 AD. This council denied Nestorianism, which taught that Jesus' two natures were totally distinct. Nestorius seemed to treat Jesus' human nature and his divine nature as if they were two distinct persons. Led by Cyril of Alexandria, the theologians at this council argued that this was not acceptable. Rather, the one person of Jesus Christ was in fact the second person of the Trinity, the Word, God the Son. The focus here was on the mysterious union of humanity and deity in the one person of Jesus Christ, who is the Word that became flesh. This left side of the boundary is then firmly established. Jesus is one person. The final boundary is established at the Fourth Council at Chalcedon in 451 AD. This council denied Eutychianism, which taught that Jesus' two natures were mixed or confused. The leaders of this council argued that it was a mistake to think that Jesus' two natures were mixed or confused in the incarnation. The key theological assumption here is that the one person of Jesus Christ has two natures. One of the key statements of the definition of Chalcedon, then, is that Jesus is to be acknowledged in two natures without confusion, without change, without division, and without separation. The distinction of the natures being by no means taken away by the union, but rather the property of each nature being preserved and concurring in one person. In this statement, we can see the major insights of these four councils. The value of the Chalcedonian boundaries is that they help keep our thinking about Christ grounded in what the Gospels themselves affirm about the God-man, Jesus Christ. These boundaries are not simply arbitrary limits put on our thinking. Rather, they are the theological realities that we discover by reading the Gospels. So what's in the middle of the box? The biblical narratives themselves. In particular, the Gospel narratives of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These narratives are at the center of the box and are at the center of our thinking about Christology. From reading and rereading the Gospels, we know that these four affirmations, these four major affirmations, are true. This is who we encounter in the Gospels: the God-man, Jesus Christ, the Word that became flesh and who dwelt among us. The discussions and formulations of the early church were designed to help us say right and true things about the Jesus that we read about in the Bible. Thus, their work can help us safeguard and treasure canonical Christology, and they help us maintain the mystery of the Incarnation.
They literally put boundaries on Jesus for us. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, the boundaries, they just put them for us. They boxed him in literally, and they can actually describe that box they put on him. Okay. It gets better. Here's your modern day church people.
There's a really specific reason why they want this Jesus who has to ask for certain people's forgiveness, which absolutely is blasphemous, or this Jesus who completely empties himself, divests himself of his divinity, and this emphasis on the kenosis. What is their intent? What are they trying to accomplish by kind of getting Jesus small, making him small?
Yeah. Well, they make Jesus small because they want to make man big.
So you can see that the reason why Johnson holds to this heretical view of Christ is because if Christ performed miracles while he was divine, then that would be something that we could not do.
There's a really specific reason why they want this Jesus who...
Look at Jesus, it's like looking in a mirror. He's your twin brother.
That you have all the rights, all the privileges of Jesus. You can do greater works than these, which they totally take out of context. You're just like Jesus. You have all the authority. You have all the power that he did.
Johnson believes that Christians have the capacity within them to perform mighty miracles. If Christ's divinity has any influence on his mighty works, then people might begin to think that they couldn't do those works themselves.
Well, Bethel has taken Christology, the doctrine of Christ, and made it mean something the Bible doesn't, so that they can teach this.
He models something that is made available because the blood of Jesus was shed to deal with the sin issue. Jesus is the most normal Christian in the Bible.
The most normal Christian who ever lived. So, if you're a Christian, hey, you're just like Jesus. Right? All the rights, all the privileges. So that's...
Can you look?
We see this.
So let me read to you, this is out of chapter 2, and probably the quote that I should have started with, but he performed miracles, wonders, and signs as a man in right relationship to God, not as God. If he performed miracles because he was God, then they would be unattainable for us. But if he did them as a man, I am responsible to pursue his lifestyle. So this idea, he did miracles not as God. What we're meaning to communicate, because this has been a point of pain for some folks as they've read it and said, is Jesus not God in that moment? Did he stop being God when he came to earth? What do you mean to be communicated?
Well, I mean exactly what I said.
In the same video that Johnson dispels following the kenotic Christ, minutes later, he commits kenosis. There is literally no way to state that at any time Christ was not ever, always, and eternally fully God. If we see that...
One more.
If you get Jesus wrong, you do not have a Jesus that can save.
Okay, let's start that over.
If you get Jesus wrong, you do not have a Jesus that can save you. The Muslims have a Jesus. The Mormons have a Jesus. The Jehovah's Witnesses have a Jesus. Catholics have a Jesus. Everybody's got a Jesus. American politics has a Jesus. Everyone's got a Jesus. Is he the right Jesus? If you get Jesus wrong.
Ready. Amazing, huh? Can y'all hear me okay now? That I'm back on mine?
Yes, we can hear you.
Alright, I hear y'all too good. You see what I mean? They literally did put them in a box. And they admit to it. And they put boundaries up so you don't see it. But what I'm going to show you tonight, I'm going to show you how Jesus' own words will break down every boundary they put up. Let me see. Let me drop down. Okay, y'all can see that pretty good. That's good. This is the box they put him in. and this is the boundaries. They want you to believe that he fits within that confine, that he's fully divine, fully human, 200% a man, as they say, one person with two natures. And they make sure they tell us, and I didn't even realize it. I went and watched several. I just showed y'all short clips, but I went and watched several, and they do this over and over and over. He's only one person now, and they drill that into people's minds, and you don't even hear it because we hear so much, when we sit in a pew, you don't even think about it. But they're selling you a dualistic Jesus, one that is human and divine all in one body. Okay. This is another man explained it this way. He said that there are four sides to the box: fully God, fully human, the union of the natures, and one person. Because they want to make sure that you do not take him out of that box. Because once you take him out of that box, they can't put him back. But tonight we're going to take the real Jesus out of that box and show the real Jesus. Okay, the first thing they mentioned was Arianism, which is the belief that the Son of God did not always exist, but was from begotten and made, and that Jesus was not with God the Father. Okay, John 1 through 3 breaks that down all to pieces. It's like, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him, not anything that was made was made. So how can you tell me that he's not fully God? Everything was made by him. Okay. And the second one says he's fully human. Okay, and that was the second meeting they had. And it's like he told us himself of this division between the two Jesuses. But nobody hears it. We're so indoctrinated, we just don't hear it. It's like he said in John 3:31, he that comes from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly, and speaks of the earth. He that cometh from heaven is above all. So he knew there was going to be two. He even warned us. He said, I come in my Father's name. When another comes, you'll receive him. He knew what we would do. I'm going to read that whole John 5:39 through 43. You search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life. In other words, no, you ain't got it in there. You're not going to find it in there. And they are which testify, and our text has me, which is wrong, because that's a reflexive pronoun in Greek. It should have been you, because the subject is them, not him. Okay, I receive not a honor from man. Nobody's giving him honor. It's a point-blank statement. I come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. See, he's saying it there again. Everybody says, oh, he don't receive honor because of that statement. They're taking it out of context. He said, I come in my Father's name, and you don't even receive me. When another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. He knew what we were going to do. He knew it was going to be a mess up. Okay, the next point they made was the Apollinarianism. And this is the argument that Jesus has a human body and a sensitive human soul, but a divine mind and not a human rational mind. I mean, you got to go to a lot of hoops on all this. Okay, how could he be divided when he makes those statements like, I and Father, we are one? That's a literal interpretation of John 10:30. If ye had known me, you should have known my Father, and from henceforth you know him and you have seen him. If he's telling you you see the Father when you see him, you see the Father. And I'm sure people will argue these points, but his words just tear it down. I mean, it tears it down. The next one was the Nestorian Christology. And let's see, it promoted the concept of the two concrete realities in Jesus, thus trying to avoid to replace the concept of a hypostatic union of two natures. So instead of seeing there were two different Jesuses, what they're doing in with this one is putting them into one person. And again, that statement in John 3:31. He's telling us there's one from earth that speaks of earthly things and one from heaven that speaks of heavenly things, and the one from heaven is above all. Okay, and then the fourth one was this, oh, I can't pronounce this. I should have remembered. Euchediism, I think is how they pronounce it. But it is an understanding of how the human and divine relate within the one person. It's like how they merged them is what it said in the text. They took these two parts here and merged them and mixed them together for us. Like they took care of that for us. They put them together. And again, I mean, John 3:31 is just a clear-cut example, that we were going to receive the wrong one. And another statement is the one where he says, I come in my Father's name, and when another one comes in his own name, you'll receive him. It's like he's telling us over and over and over. And this is the if you want to go watch the full video, it's called The Deceptive Cult of Bill Johnson and the Bethel Church. And it's real funny because all of them throw the hand signs the whole time they're talking. And he's even got the Christogram here, which is like the mark of the beast thing. But they've been hiding these two Jesuses, saying to us over and over and over history and time that he's half and half. He's half divine. He's half human, and he merges together. And we've got this pagan, born of a virgin, pseudo deity, that we're supposed to worship. It's like it's crazy because it does not match what Jesus tells us in the red letter text. Okay. This is the divide. And it's funny they did it like with the cross too. And they got Jesus on one side and Christ on the other. Because I do think the Jesus Christ one was the Son of Man, that was the human nature. And I think that Jesus Bar Abba, the Son of the Father, was the divine person. I think there were two of them. This is what they want you to see. The divided man. And this is going to be the tipping point in the end, guys. They're going to ask you, do you believe Jesus is divine? Do you worship him? And if your answer is yes, you'll probably be unalived. That's what's going to happen. And like I said, if you want a clear-cut verse to tell everybody, that's your verse. John 3:31. There is no divided Jesus. He's either divine or he's not. In the earliest manuscripts, I didn't add that. I should have added that in here, right here. But the earliest manuscripts, when they say only begotten Son in John, in the early ones, it says only begotten Theos, or God. So how can we tell this from all the other scriptures? Okay, we have one Jesus that was born of a woman and one that was sent. And it's real easy when you count the number of times he was sent. He said he was sent. He says he was sent 38 times. He calls Mary woman. He said, of those born of women, none is greater than John the Baptist, but the least in heaven will be greater than him. That's a big, bold statement, because that would throw him completely out of heaven. And we know from Matthew 1:18 that the claim is that he was born of a virgin, because it says, now the birth of Jesus Christ was on the wise when as his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, before they came together, she was found with child of the Holy Ghost. So they're saying that she was, in one other verse it says she was overshadowed, whatever that means, but she was found pregnant and supposedly never slept with Joseph or a man. Okay. Now this is Jesus talking. He said, "These things I have spoken unto you," and this is John 16:25 through 29. "These things I have spoken to you in Proverbs. But time comes when I shall no longer speak to the world unto you in Proverbs, but I shall show you plainly the Father." Okay, and when they translated this Proverbs, that's parable. It's the same thing. At that day ye shall ask in my name, and I shall say unto you that I will pray to the Father for you. For the Father himself loves you, because ye have loved me, and have believed that I came out of, or out from, the Father. I came forth from the Father, and I come into the world. Again I will leave the world and go to the Father. So he's coming and going the same way. Okay, so it's not like he was born. If he was born, he would say, "Okay, I got to go get back into Mary's womb so I can go back home." No, he said, I came this way and I'm going back that way. His disciples said unto him, "Oh, now you speak plainly, and speaketh no parable or no proverb." It's like they understood him then. They understood what he was trying to tell them. Okay, another way we can tell, one Jesus was a firstborn and the other Jesus was a monogene. Okay, somebody corrected me today, and I'm going to take that correction because I'm fallible, people. I'm just a person trying to learn this stuff just like y'all. But they told me that Isaac, I think it was Isaac, that was called a monogene in the Septuagint. I did not know that. And I went and looked it up, and he was. But it still can mean unique, one of a kind. But literally, when you look at the word monogene in Greek, it means one gene. And I said, how do we know that wasn't a miraculous thing too? I said, because it's like how old Sarah was, and they didn't expect to have a baby. It's like, so we don't know. And I don't trust the Old Testament either. So when Jesus said he was a liar from the Genesis, I believe him. But when we look at this, we can see that, a firstborn, like we have in Matthew 1:24 and 25, is a child that's born of parents, like two parents. And they have siblings. They have brothers and sisters. It's not a unique one of a kind. It's like, then Joseph, being raised from the sleep, did as the angel of the Lord had bidden unto him, and took unto him his wife, and knew her not until she had brought forth her firstborn son, and he called his name Jesus. So it tells us he was the firstborn, and that means the firstborn of other children. Okay, then in John 1:18 is where we get the monogene. "No man has seen God at any time. The only begotten monogene, which is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him." He's in the bosom of the Father. That's not the belly of Mary. And then the other verse that I read part of a while ago was John 14:8 through 11. "Philip said unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it suffices us. We'll be happy if you just show us the Father," is what he's saying. Jesus said unto him, "Have I been with you so long, and you have not seen me?" He has seen me, has seen the Father. And how sayest thou, show us the Father? Believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but of the Father that dwells in me, and he does the work. All right, then the last verse, "Believe me, I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. or else believe me for the very works' sake. It's like, if you can't believe what I'm saying, then believe what you see with your eyes. Has any man ever opened the eyes of the blind? He asked him that. Has any man ever opened the eyes of the blind? No, only Jesus. Has any man ever raised a person from the grave? Not that I know of. Now, we can do CPR and we can have some miraculous restarts of the heart nowadays, but I think when it's Father's time for people go regardless of how much medical equipment we got in there. That's just my opinion. And I was a trauma nurse, so. Okay. We can look at this one too. One came to cast fire, and the other one says that casting fire is wrong. It's like in Luke 12:49, he says, I came to cast fire upon the earth. How I wish that it was already ablaze. Now, does that sound, that's a wrathful sound in Jesus to me. Then we got Luke 9:51 through 56. He says, And it came to pass, when the time was come, that he should be received up steadfastly, he set his face to go to Jerusalem. And he sent messengers before his face, and they went and entered into the village of the Samaritans, to make ready for him. And that's another thing right there, to mention of going into the Samaritans, because in the other book, he says don't go anywhere near them, to go only to the lost sheep of Israel. Okay. And when his disciples James and John saw, I'm sorry, I missed a verse. And they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Lord, would you have that we command fire, even as Elijah did? And he turned and rebuked them. And he said, You know not what manner of sort of spirit you are of. And they added, verse 56 says, For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. That part was added in most of the manuscripts. The only thing you have in most of them is, and they went to another village. It's like they left him and they went to another village. But the part about the Son of Man is not in a lot of the manuscripts. I checked. All right. All right. One proclaims one race is his, and the other the entire world is his. Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent unto the destroyed sheep, but the destroyed sheep of the house of Israel. So he's saying he was only sent to them. And that word is not lost in Greek, it's destroyed, because it's apolumi. These 12 Jesus sent forth and commanded them, saying, Go not the way of the Gentiles, and into the city of the Samaritans enter ye not. See, that's the verse I was telling you about. But go rather to the lost or destroyed sheep of the house of Israel. So they were sent to the lost sheep of Israel, or the destroyed ones. You can read it however you want to, but I'm telling you, Pauline means destroyed. And then we have John 1:9 through 1:15. That the true light, which lights every man that comes into the world, he was in the world, and the world was made by him. See, right there, the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto the same, and the same received him not. Now, your version's going to say his own, but that's another reflective pronoun that's mistranslated, because the subject is mentioned 4 times, it's the world. But as many as received him, to them he gave the power to become sons or children of God. It shouldn't say sons. It is not related to just men. It is children of God in the Greek. Even to them that believe on his name, which were not born of blood, which means a race, nor of the flesh, which also means a race, but of the will, and not of the will of man, but of God. And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld the glory of the only begotten or monogene of the Father, full of grace and truth. I mean, that's saying a whole lot right there. Okay. Then we have one Jesus comes to save everyone, and the other one comes to deliver Yahweh's wrath. Okay, Matthew 25:4. Then shall he also unto them on the left hand, depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. I cannot see Jesus telling anybody that. That does not match John 3:16 and 17. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Uh-oh. I flipped over too. Okay, well, quit flipping on me. One Jesus has the earthly temple, and the other one has his body as the temple. We see in Matthew 21:12, and Jesus went into the temple of God, and he cast them and sold and bought. He cast out all of them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables and the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves. And he said unto them, It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. Okay, then we look at the other Jesus. We see him, Jesus in John 2, saying in 19 through 22, Jesus answered and said unto them, Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up. Then said the Jews, 40 and 66 years this temple was being built, and wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spoke of the temple of his body. He was not talking about the building. When therefore he was risen from the dead, then his disciples remembered that he had said this unto them, and they believed the scripture and the word which Jesus had said. So at that point they believed him after that. And each one has different separate fathers with different natures. And if you don't get anything else out of this, once you see the nature of the Father, that was the one that was Christ, and the nature of the Father of the one that was Bar Abba, you can't miss it. It's like Jesus told us in 8:31, and he said to the Jews, and they then said Jesus to those thinking him Jewish, and that's what it literally says in Greek. If you continue in my word, then you're my disciples indeed. And he told them, he said, you are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a unaliver from the Genesis or the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Because he knew they weren't going to believe him, even though he was telling them the truth. And he also told them that they didn't know neither him nor his Father. He said, if you'd known me, you would also know my Father. And that's John 8:19. But you can see how easily, if once you start seeing this, you can go through and you can find these things. Very, very easy. It's like they're both from different worlds. It's like Revelation tells us in 20, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of those that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and the word of God, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had they received the mark on their foreheads or on their hands, for they lived and reigned with Christ for 1,000 years. But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy are those that take part in the first resurrection. On such the second death had no power. But they will be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him for 1,000 years. They're talking about an earthly reign from a temple here on earth. And then Jesus tells us, he said, "You are from beneath, and I am from above. You are of this world, and I am not of this world. And I said to you that you shall die in your sins, for if you don't believe that I am, you shall die in your sins. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would not have told you. I go and prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself. And there I am, you will be also." So he's talking about a physical place that's not in this world, it's in another world. And when he said the word for below or beneath, it's katokosmos, and it means the underworld. He literally tells us we're from the underworld. One Jesus says not to swear any oaths, and one Jesus has a new covenant blood oath. In Luke 22:20, we see, "And in a like manner he took the cup, and having sipped it, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is being poured out for you." So he literally calls it a new covenant. Okay, and then John 13:27, "And after the morsel, then after he dips the soup, they call it SOP in the Bible, and then he hands the morsel to him, and then Satan enters into one of them." And that's in verse 13, 26, and 27. And then the other Jesus is telling us, he said, "Again, they have heard it said to them of old, They shall not forsworn thyself, and shall perform unto the Lord thine oaths. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, nor by God's throne," and that would be the temple, I guess, "nor by earth, by his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is in the city of the great King." And that's the last one I had for tonight. I had one more, but I didn't get it completed. But I think that's enough to show what I'm seeing in here and why I think they put them in a box like that. They don't want you to see the two of them. They want you to keep him boxed with those boundaries and not see that there was one that was divine and one that was earthly. Y'all want to open it up? We can talk some. If I hadn't talked everybody's ear off too much.
I can see if Boston Cat still wants to come up.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll get that out of the chat. I try to make those the size where they won't be down in y'all's chat box the whole time.
I don't see Boston Cat anymore.
Oh, he probably got tired of listening to me. I'm sorry. I probably talked too long. Oh, there's Chris is there.
He'll probably come back.
Yeah, he might be outside of the live listening, but
He
maybe
might
gotta come
even be
inside.
there, guys. He might even be there because we can't. None of us can ever see his name unless Artist invites him up or he requests. So he.
I
Could
can
still
usually
be there.
I can usually see Boston's name.
Yeah, I don't always see it.
Hi,
Yeah.
Chris. How you doing?
Good. That was awesome, Artist. That was amazing.
Thank you.
You put that together so well. That was so just bang, bullseye on point. I could not, I was sitting here grinning ear to ear, and I'm like, man, these people don't even know. They think we disagree. And psh, that was literally like picking my brain.
I'm glad
That
you
was
liked it,
awesome. Yeah,
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, everybody. Everybody's thanking me. I appreciate that, guys.
yeah, that was perfect. I mean, and
This came
you
from
didn't even
Father. This
talk
just
that
fell in
long.
my
You didn't.
lap.
I
I
mean,
kept seeing him in that box, and I don't know why. And then all of a sudden, I watched that goofy video, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's what he wants me to talk about.
yep, that was perfect. I'm so glad I had tonight off. Man, that was awesome. That was, and when you started talking about the beast And I have been pushing that to everybody. It's so in their faces. It is irrefutable. And they even line up the chapters. When you read Hosea 13 and Revelation 13, one describes Yahweh, one describes the beast,
Yep.
and they are identical. Identical. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. When I told that to my mother, who is still bound up in religion and Christianity and damns me to back here again, I guess, all the time because of the way I think and believe and the studies I do. And I tell it to her, and the only answer I get is, well, if he's the beast, he could be the beast because he's God.
Oh
And I'm
gosh.
like,
Wow.
whatever. It drives me crazy. But it is what it is. If she wants to come back here and do this all over again, that's her choice, and nothing I can do about it. Me, I'm outie.
I hope I go home. I'm ready to go home.
Yes, ma'am. I am ready. And, you know, I wake up every day and I'm like, why am I still here? Why? I can't wait. When our Jesus said that you can't even imagine what heaven is going to be like. When I talk about people joining each other, that's what I'm talking about the unity and love that we are going to experience when we go home, when our souls are free of this place. And then everybody will be loving and peaceful. And until we learn that, we're not getting out of here, and that's just what I try and express to everybody. You're going to keep, unless this is the final, end game where Abba says, okay, enough is enough. I'm remaking the heavens and the earth. No more soul trap. But the problem I have with that is, and maybe I could pick your brain on this, artist, I don't know. The problem I have with that is, then it says that Satan was cast into the abyss. But we know that this is the abyss. So that might have already happened. But I don't really know how to put that together. I've been trying to figure that one out for the past week or so. If you got any thoughts on that, that would be awesome.
Well, I'm doing that talk through Revelation because I wanted to show them how I think that it happened in
Oh, Sally
70.
said, yeah.
I think it happened in 70 AD, but it's that we're in the little season, and I think it repeats in the little season. I think that we're going through the final stages now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that was the Sally said that's Yahweh's new heaven and new earth, and that's what I was thinking, but because of the fact that he was cast into the abyss, so I was kind of leaning towards that, but I was hoping that there was a final stage end game where it's all over with. No more soul trap.
Yeah.
Nobody gets sent
When
back.
we're looking around at everything, you can almost tell that. I think from about 1960 on, everything just kind of went haywire. And I was
Yep.
born in 1960, and I'm not just saying that
I
because it
actually
was the
think
year
it
I
all
was born.
started. I think it all started around 1945 because so they found that the Nag Hammadi was found in 1945. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found in 1946. The UN was established. The 10, I think that's because the UN is divided into 10 regions. Now, I think this is all Yahweh's game. All right, he's just playing out his game plan, his prophecies, to make it look like he's in charge. But the UN is divided into 10 regions, and there's a leader over each of those regions that doesn't have a kingdom, but they're going to receive power as a kingdom from Yahweh. That's what I think. So the UN is the 10 kings with no kingdoms. And Israel was reborn as a nation in 48 to make Yahweh's prophecies look happening. Antarctica was 1946 when they discovered the ice wall, and Admiral Byrd did all his expeditions to the ice wall, and that's where they declared the Antarctic Treaty, because I believe, because Admiral Byrd reports that he found land beyond the ice wall. I think he found where the 200 watchers from Enoch were imprisoned in Antarctica. So I think it all started right about 1945. And then we started seeing it probably around 1960 when they started the, fake moon landings and all that jazz.
That's when all the um, pharmaceuticals started getting
Yep.
so heavy too.
Vaccines.
And,
Yep. All of
and
it.
all that started in that same time period. And also, not only that, the street drugs also took off big time in that time period.
Yep.
LSD, all that stuff
Heroin, I think,
started.
was started then.
Uh oh, that may get me a, I
Oh,
don't know, get me a
sorry.
strike. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it. But the illegal pharmaceuticals hit the streets. I'm sorry, TikTok. I'm not used to this yet, still.
Me
Um,
either. Don't feel bad. I got a strike earlier.
Now, as for the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Nag Hammadi, I've read the Dead Sea Scrolls and I've read most of the Nag Hammadi, and I was disappointed because it felt like it was like a remake of like Wicca to me, and it's like I'm like, what are we doing here? So I started digging into it, and I've looked real heavy into the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I think they were a hoax. There's like over 7 million um, hits when you put in Indiana Jones in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Every article, just like Indiana Jones. And you think about it, you go look at the terrain and look at the caves. What were those sheep eating? And what kind of throwing arm did that boy have to hit that cave up there? I mean, it would have had to been horrendous. I mean, it's all jagged rock, and the cave was way off a cliff. It's like it just smacks of just and then they say that they've got a copy of Isaiah's scroll in the museum because the original is too delicate to put on display, and I'm like, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
I
then
think that I was
they,
thinking, here's what I thought, because I found certain things. I bought a version of the Dead Sea Scrolls Bible, and when I read through it, um, it seemed like there were gaps. And when I did some research into it, from the time they found the Dead Sea Scrolls before they released them to the public, they spent, I think it was like something like 11 years supposedly transcribing them. What I think they were doing was twisting them to match Yahweh's Bible during that time. That's just my theory. Can you guys hear me? I can't hear anybody.
I can hear you.
yeah,
Oh,
I
I
hear
was
you.
just giving everybody a chance to
Yeah,
speak.
they were trying to confuse people too because they were like saying they were the sons of darkness and the sons of light, and the Essenes out there, they were doing paganism because they would get up and face the sun to pray, and they had crystals and divination and all that stuff. And um, then when I went to the Nag Hammadi and started reading, I'm like, I'm seeing the same thing. Only they tried to fill in the childhood years of Jesus, probably because he just showed up on the scene, and he didn't go through the childhood years. You know, that's what
yeah.
I think. I think
Yeah.
that they were trying to recreate, something to fill in those gaps so that people would just start getting into that, and we all did. I got
Oh,
into it and I
yeah.
read it, and I thought, you know, to begin with, I thought, well, am I just seeing this all wrong? Then I went back to his words in the red letter text, and I was like, no. Then I think this whole thing was a big hokey to try to get us, steered in the wrong direction at the right time because they knew they were fixing to go into this time period when it was going to be crunch time. And they gotta pull as many people away
Yep.
from it as they possibly could do. Now that's my take, Chris. Now I know not everybody feels that way, so I don't judge. It's like everybody has to figure these things out on their own.
Isn't it sad that we have to say that over and over again?
No, I just like for people to know that because I wandered around in Wicca for 14 years
Oh
studying
no, no, I
world.
mean sad that we have to tell
Mhm.
people we're not forcing them to believe what we believe.
I studied world religions for 14 years while I was in Wicca, and it was like I just kept seeing the same mess over and over and over, and I'm like, Father, are you real? I mean, I was just crying out for some from validation, and I got it. And when I got it, boy, did I stuck with it. It's like, I mean, I may
Yeah, it's
read, but and study and have knowledge, but at the same time, Jesus' words hold the weight for me.
yep. Yeah, I agree totally. I test everything that I discover or am told about. I test it all by strictly by the red, even the words that are attributed to Jesus in the Nag Hammadi. I test those by the teachings of strictly the red letters in canonized Bible, because that's really the only baseline I have to go on. And I throw out what doesn't line up and accept what does. I found things in Buddhism and Islam that align with Jesus' teachings. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, you can, once you're set free that the Bible was written by man and twisted by man, and it is actually more of I've actually done some research into it being a Kabbalistic spell book, the Old Testament. So,
Oh, the Old Testament's definitely an algorithm and a Gomorrah.
yes, exactly.
Hmm.
Yes. And I can't explain that to people because they just don't get it. They just, and then they get more confused. But yeah, it's like even when they put the word amen at the end of a prayer, that is literally calling out praises to Amun Ra.
Now, I
That's,
know if in first century though, if you go read the historical stuff on the Greeks and all, amen at the end of a thing was like at the end of a story or like we have it at the movie where it says the end. When you get to the finish of the movie, they put it in that position, and it can literally mean at the end, which
yeah,
most people don't realize.
right.
So it took on a different meaning by that time period. So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, so I've read some. Now, the problem with Kabbalah is uh, there's writings about it, but it's more of a oral transition or oral practice of Judaism. So you can't really get a lot of info on it unless you could find like a Kabbalist rabbi that is willing to give you information, which I've actually talked to a couple, and they'll give me a little bit, and they admit that it's spells. It's all a spell book. It's you know, but they tell it doesn't matter if you're reading Torah or Kabbalah. It's all spells, and they admit to it. If you find the right rabbis, they like to brag that they sucker all the Christians. So I've met a couple that one had come out of it, and one was still practicing it, and they both admitted, yeah, yeah, we have Christians casting spells for us all day. That's where the Xeon don't know if we can say the word without getting striked, but that's where they keep control over the entire world through the banking systems, Hollywood, the PORN hub is owned and operated by a Jewish rabbi. You know.
You had brought up the Muslim Jesus earlier,
Yeah.
and they said that the Muslim Jesus they agreed that he was a prophet,
Right.
but Jesus himself said that he called all the prophets out as being liars.
Right. I use it to open the door because they, by their laws, they have to adhere to anything any prophet says. They worship prophets like Christians and Jews worship Yahweh. All
Yeah,
right.
no, now that it's like it makes no sense basically.
Right, but then I can stump them and get their minds going because I can, once I get them to admit that Jesus was a prophet, then I can show them that Jesus says, if you've seen the Father, you've seen me. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Then they have
Good
no
opportunity.
choice by their religion
Yeah.
to accept that.
Now
Yeah.
Jesus told us. He told us what's going to happen. He said, "He that receives you receives me, and he that receiveth me receives him that sent me. He that
Right.
receives a prophet in the name of a prophet shall receive a prophet's reward. But he that receives a righteous man in the name of a righteous man shall receive a righteous man's reward."
Well, hey, let's talk about for a second who would want a prophet's reward, because when you look back through the Old Testament, let's see, Ezekiel was a prophet. He had to cook food over his own poop and eat it. Jonah was a prophet. He got ate by a whale, supposedly, and tortured. Isaiah was a prophet, and he was, I can't remember. He went through a lot of stuff too. Jeremiah was called the weeping prophet. He was persecuted by his own people. So who would want the reward of a prophet?
Jeremiah wasn't allowed to marry. He wasn't allowed to have a wife.
Hosea had to marry a woman of the world. You know what I mean? I don't want to get a strike. He was forced by Yahweh to marry someone that he didn't want to marry and wasn't faithful. So I don't want that reward. So if Jesus said that you'll receive a prophet's reward, I don't want to be in that group. I'm not down with that. I have enough problems already.
Nathan, artist, were you finished?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because he did tell us, that about the different rewards and that if you didn't receive the right one, you're not going to receive the right reward.
Right.
But the ones that are kind and give a drink of water, to the least of them will receive the biggest reward probably. It's like, Father knows the hearts. Father knows the hearts.
Yes, he does.
Nathan wanted to bring up, I think John 5:46 possibly, about when Jesus said, "Moses spoke of me."
Oh yeah, I get that. I'd actually like any kind of input or advice on that one too. When the only answer that I'm able to give, but I can't really back it up, is when he says that Moses spoke of me. I get hit with that all the time. They're like, but
It's
Moses.
another reflective pronoun, I think. Let me look real quick.
Yeah, if you could give me some, because the only thing I hit him with is, so what? I speak about him too. I speak about you.
Because he said, I come in my Father's name, and you receive me not. When another comes in his own name, you'll receive him. And then he keeps going on, and he said, how can ye believe which receive honor one another, and seek not the honor that comes from God only? Do not think I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuses you, the one you trust, Moses. For if you had believed Moses, you would have believed. Oh, I don't know about that one now. I may be wrong. Let me look at the Greek. I may have to analyze that one. I'm sorry. It is a reflective pronoun, but I'd have to look at the Greek because this is the way it's worded. I'm sorry, I'll
Yeah,
have to
I
look
get
at that one.
that one a lot too.
Because I won't tell you wrong. I want to make sure I do it right. And that
I
takes
always
me.
use the one when they start throwing that scripture at me. I say, well, he tells you that Moses was Satan. The word in the original Greek for the verse that says, I can't remember what verse it is, but Jesus says, "Do not think that I will accuse you, for one is your accuser, Moses." Well, the original wording says, "Do not think that I am Satan, because one is Satan, Moses, in whom you trust."
That's correct. Because it's categorist, and that specifically means the Satan.
Yes, yeah, and that's how I shut them up when I tell them that, but I can't. It doesn't do any good to just shut them up. I don't want to shut them up. I want them to wake up. So if we had any other way to combat that rather than just making them feel stupid, that would be great.
And it could be. It
Sometimes
could
it's
have been the
necessary.
Christ one speaking too, because there were two of them, and they were on the scene at the same time. Sometime when you have time, read through Mark. I think it's Mark 10, and you can clearly see both of them. It's wild.
Oh
It
yeah,
is. It's
you
and it's easy to pick it out too. It's like because they mentioned the other one in his name doing the same thing, casting out demons, and they weren't able to. And he said, "Don't tell anybody, you know, what happened."
yeah.
He even says, "Don't say anything about it."
Well, when you read in the Greek and you read in the Septuagint, you can clearly see that all of the Jews were coming against Jesus, and they didn't even consider him a Jew. They actually called him a Nazarene, which was considered to be outcasts of the Jews. So, and I don't know if they were pinning that on Jesus Bar Abba, and it was then twisted into being about the Christ. I don't know. But when you read it, you can clearly see they literally called him Satan, in the original wording. They were calling Jesus Satan. And he told
They
them,
accused him of being,
yeah.
using Beelzebub and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, I mean, I don't like just shutting people up. I like to get their eyes opened so we can possibly end this nightmare.
Well, I don't think we're gonna end it. A nightmare has to happen, right? But
Well, I don't know. I think, and that's where the consciousness thing comes in. I mean, like I said, I don't call it the Christ consciousness, but Jesus taught that when you gain knowledge, in Jesus' teachings, he even alludes to it in red letter scriptures, that when you gain knowledge, you can ascend out of the pit. That's why when he's where I go to prepare, when he said, "I go to prepare a place for you, so where I am, there you can be." He never said he was
That's the
returning.
kingdom of heaven. That's not talking about the elevation of consciousness. That is when we die, we get reconciled to the Father in his kingdom. You're talking Christ consciousness, Chris.
And you see, again, I don't
I
label.
came out of it. I was in it for 3 years, very heavy. So it is, whether you want to call it that or not, it is Christ consciousness that you're referring to.
I understand what they label, but somebody gave it that label, a person. They called it that. They took it from the Nag Hammadi
They
and then
didn't take it
labeled
from
it and created a
Jesus's
Christ
teaching.
consciousness.
That's not Jesus's teachings, brother. It's just not.
Okay,
I was
well,
just gonna ask.
again, we can agree to disagree. I
Well,
read
you've
it.
come up here and you've kind of kidnapped the show again away from the topic, and you're going down all the rabbit trails once again.
We were just talking.
You're talking. Nobody else is talking. You're talking.
Artist was talking with me. Tim was talking. You know what? I'm just going to go because you are a very, very mean person. And you have never, ever shown any love of Jesus to anyone that I've ever seen you speak to. So you have a good day and you be blessed.
Let's try not to get into it, guys.
Well, I was going to ask Chris, just what makes him think that, like what verse is it, so we can analyze it, because I don't see it that way, if it's the verse I'm thinking of, but yeah, I was going to get into some of the questions if you guys wanted to.
I'm
If
not
you guys
upset.
wanted
I'm
to.
not upset with y'all because we do have to defend what we believe in. It's like, but at the same time, we have to. If he's agreeing to disagree with us, that's okay.
Yeah.
We have to try to be.
He can agree to disagree, but with all due respect, like he comes in and he gets us off topic every single time. Like I have not been disrespectful to him, but I'm tired of it because it happens on every single show. And for him to say that I don't show love to anybody,
That was wrong.
you don't know me, Chris. You don't
That's
know
right.
me at all.
You don't
And
know.
you're getting that information from others who are spreading false rumors and false lies about me. So, I'm going to pray for you and I'm going to pray for those who were saying those things, because if you knew me, you were so far off on this.
He is far off on Sally because Sally does love people, and I can tell y'all that firsthand. Sally's an excellent person.
So I didn't mean for him to jump off, but if you're going to dish it out, bro, you got to take it too. So, I'm just tired of like this. You gave a presentation, we're on topic, it's a great subject, and he gets up here every time and he's going off on Christ consciousness and the Nag Hammadi and just he was the only one talking. We weren't engaging, and it's like we want to try to keep it focused and keep it on topic. I do love you, Chris. I hope you come to the truth of what we're trying to say and stop going down the rabbit holes, because the rabbit holes, you can have all the knowledge in the world. Satan has all the knowledge in the world, and look where he is. The knowledge is not the truth. Knowledge does not equal truth and love of the Father. It just does not, and that's why we're trying to keep it focused on Father on this channel. Now I'm done.
It's okay. You have the right to say what you want to say. We all do.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. We should be able to disagree and even get into a debate and still be able to respect each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And that was rude of him to say that to her.
It was rude. That is unfair. I've never been rude to him or on a live or anything. But I've been accused of things by him and other people on his live, So I'm sorry, Chris. How dare you, brother?
Did you want to say something, Malia?
Anyway, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, when Chris had his live today, did you see me accept the invitation to come up and have the argument? No, I stayed down. I don't want to take over Chris's live. I was just in the comments. And I find that when Chris comes up, it steers us away every time from the conversation. And it always goes down exactly the same roads. And then we get because we're trying to keep our life together on topic, we get criticized. And Sally and I get called all the names. And all we do is try to keep this live, Gullinov's research, Father's truth, on track. And we're criticized for that. And Sally, you're not what he said, and don't even let it get to you.
I know that I'm not, and I know my heart, and I know that a lot of you guys know my heart, and I know Father knows my heart, so he can call me any kind of name that he wants, and it's not truth. I got to a point tonight where I'm just tired of it. It's so distracting. Even people in the comments are saying how distracting it is when he comes on. You know, he says that he's teaching the same thing that we are, but he's not. You know, he's not teaching about Father, and he's not, you know, doing the work that Artist has done to put this information out. He's going down every rabbit hole there is. And I've already been down all the rabbit holes. I don't need to go down them anymore. I came to the truth. I found this channel and I'm here. And I'm committed and I'm dedicated. And I truly have love for everybody. You know, I truly do. You know, but we got to stay focused, you know.
I agree. We have to keep getting this out there because nobody else is really doing it. You know.
And there's people here that are coming to distract us away from it. They don't want the truth to get out. You know, I mean, there's a reason why so few people have this truth. You know, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And I'm not saying that Chris is the enemy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there are a lot of people that come in and they come up on the panel and they want to distract us away from what we're teaching.
Yeah, you know, I could be partly to blame because, you know, Chris, I don't think Chris has a bad heart or anything. I think Chris talks a lot, and I think he knows he talks a lot, you know. So if you're listening, Chris, I'm not attacking you. I'm just laying out the things the way I see it. And I think that even when Chris gets a good amount of time to talk, I think when we're kind of like, hey, time's up, let's kind of move on. I think he still feels like he's not given a voice, and I hate that because I know and understand that we are giving him a voice.
If anyone has been given a voice,
It's Chris.
if you think about it, it's Chris.
Yep.
So he can have those feelings. We can't change them.
Oh yeah, no,
He can change them.
and I agree that we give him a voice. You know, what I'm saying is that I can see through his reactions that he still feels like he doesn't have one, even though we give him
because he wants us to believe what he believes and we don't.
He's on his channel and he can do his own lives and he can talk about whatever he wants. Like I listened from the outside today. Same thing as Aylin said. I didn't go into that live because I did not want to cause any kind of drama or any kind of anything or any kind of distraction. That's because I respected the fact that it was his live. It wasn't our live.
Exactly.
And so I stayed out of it, you know.
That's exactly what I was bringing up.
I wish he'd have a little bit of the same respect and maybe just listen a little bit more, you know, when he comes on.
And that's what I was about to get to. And and that's what I'm saying, Chris, if you are listening, this is the stance. Like, this is the reason why I feel like it's an issue every time, you know. Now it's out in the open, and hopefully we can come to an understanding. You know what I'm saying? Because I do agree that we give you time to talk, yeah. But it's hard to get a word in when I want to kind of steer the show back, and it's only because, you know, you'll jump from topic to topic effortlessly. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it makes you a bad guy. You know, it just creates a problem for me to get the show back on track, so I don't displease anyone. You know, other viewers that got their own questions, etc. So that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to bring that up. So hopefully, both sides can have their view out there, and we can get to an understanding and still have respect for each other. But sorry. a couple people did have some questions in the comments that I wanted to bring up if you guys are still interested.
Yeah, absolutely.
You leaving, David? Thank you for showing up, and
Oh,
I was just telling him bye because he said
oh, bye,
bye.
David. I wasn't even looking. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we've been down these roads. I always say that even if someone knows what I'm about to say, if they see what I'm about to they can understand what I'm about to the point I'm about to make up, whatever. Even if they see it, I still want to finish the point because then I'll feel like I'm heard and I feel like my point is listened to, instead of the person cutting me off to either successfully or unsuccessfully uh say what I was going to say. You know what I'm saying? But Misty D Madman, she was asking where did you get this information from? Like what website?
Oh,
And I think they told her in the comments. Yeah, sorry.
you mean that I got for tonight?
Yeah, I think the information in general, like maybe even the whole theory.
Oh, the theory just came from watching that little clip on them um, talking about Bethel, the Bethel Church, and then I got to thinking about it. I'm like, that's the box that I keep seeing him in. They've put these boundaries up, and then I went and looked, and it was a literal box method that they're teaching in seminaries. You know, and it had to do with all those councils they did, the Council of Nicaea and all that stuff. It was all tied around their meetings. They were literally trying to disguise that there was two of them. You know, that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, and I think Nathan told her that it's from research, from just years of looking, not necessarily a website.
Yeah, yeah, that didn't come from one particular website.
David in the comments said a den of thieves with a question mark, and he's saying like that's Christ. I guess he's talking about the temple when he was saying you turned my father's house into a den of thieves. I don't know exactly what your point was, David. I mean, we definitely think it's Christ for a lot of reasons. I think it's Christ because he called it his father's house for one.
Right. That's why I've pegged that scripture as being from the Christ one.
Hmm. But then it being a den of thieves, that I mean, if that's what he's talking about, that's a good point too. Um, Missy D. Madman also brought up, what about saying he's God in human form of Jesus?
Say that one again.
It says, she said, what about saying he's God, Jesus, she's referring to, in the human form?
I don't think he was born of a woman though. I don't think he was a human form.
I think maybe she's saying like maybe he came down from heaven and just made himself look like that to dwell amongst us, like he like reforming himself or something.
I think that would be more likely that he just came in a form that we could relate to, and
Exactly.
accept,
That's what I said earlier. Yeah. I don't think he was human at all. I think he was divine, 100%. And he just created a suit, or if you want to call it that, to come and be more relatable. And that's it.
Yeah. I already said my question with the Muslims, the Muslim Jesus. Esperanza Marie, 1975 from YouTube said, "Do you think Jesus wanted us to unalive for him?"
Um, I think if it comes down to denying him or not, yes, because he said if we deny him before man, that he will deny us before the Father.
Um, Homesick Taylor in the comments says she has a question. You can either type it or you can come up, either one. Does anybody else have an idea about the about him wanting to unalive for us? Because I think that's a question that a few people be having, honestly.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, hey.
Hey.
Hi. It's been a long time since I've been on. I've really missed it. Um, keep eating your dinner. Sorry, my toddler loves to talk in the front. So I had this question. I guess it was kind of relating. I'm not gonna go down the whole rabbit hole of what Chris was talking about, but I just had a question for you guys. Just thinking about like the reoccurring cycles, right? So do you guys feel like our spirits have been here multiple times, or do you feel like we come here once, we make the decision, and then we get free? Does that make sense? Or maybe we come back multiple times until we get free. You know what I mean? I'm just curious, like other people's perspectives on that.
Who wants to grab that one?
I think we're in
I was Go ahead.
I think we're in a soul trap, and I do think that we get reincarnated over and over and over again until we find the true love of our Father. And once we know who the real Jesus is in that lifetime when we pass, we get reconciled to Him. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. I think that's kind of what I meant too.
I'm okay with being ignorant on it right now. I have no real clue. I'm still studying out Revelations again with these, with these new set of eyes. I feel like every time I know a new theory, I have to read the whole thing again with those eyes. And I haven't done it since I've learned the Barabbas truth. So,
Well, we have one statement by him that could go along with that too, where he said if you can receive it, he is Elijah that was to come. So he's like telling us that that the one that was supposed to announce everything was there. So that would indicate that Elijah had come back.
Yeah, that's interesting.
that's true. Definitely something to consider.
There was one more thing I was just gonna yeah. So I mean, the reason why I kind of ask is I've been told, which at this point in my life I'm like, I don't think that's a good thing, but I've been told I have an old soul, and I've thought about that a lot. I'm like, have I just came here so many times and just messed up, and I've had to, I haven't found the truth yet. Anyway, so I was thinking about that today.
That's actually interesting. The old soul. Maybe we are reincarnated, and the ones that's reincarnated have old souls.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've been like waffling with lately because I feel like not that I'm like I would not consider myself Gnostic, but I have thought about this idea how they have the three kind of spirits. I don't know if anybody knows about that. It's kind of like it's been a while since I've read it, but it's like the Pomonics, and it's like basically three. And there's like one that is like connected to Father, like you can't lose your salvation, like you will go back. And then there's like the middle where it's like you can kind of actually have choice in the matter where you can choose to follow the darkness or you can go back to Father. And then the other one is kind of like, I hate to even call them this, but like NPCs, like non-playable characters, that they're just kind of filling the game, right? Like they're kind of like connected to the hive mind, right? Like they're the ones that maybe don't like their spirit. It's kind of like they don't have a spirit, but they have a soul or something like that. I don't know. But I thought about that thing too. And because I'm not saying this to brag. I've been one of these people and I've met with certain people who also have been like this, but it's like ever since I was little, like I didn't fit in, and like my family who are very like narcissistic, definitely got alienated from them. I feel like I have kind of felt different since I was young, and I'm like, is it because I'm an old soul and I've like learned these things now to this point, or is it maybe because I'm like, I hate to even say this about myself because I don't know. I'm just like, or am I maybe just different or maybe connected to Father and I feel like I don't fit in here, but other people.
Did you feel like when you were really young, you were always seeking Father? Like,
Yeah. Oh,
that's the
absolutely. I
way.
grew up.
I
Yeah.
think that's where that comes from because I was like that too. From very little bitty toddler, I was like, where is Father? What is he? And
Yeah.
I had all
Absolutely.
these questions and I was just like wanting to know.
Yeah, I feel very the same. And I grew up in a very atheistic home actually. And so I did not like jive with what I was being taught at home. So yeah, I agree.
I feel like it's like that for most of us.
Mhm.
As a kid growing up, I've definitely felt, I guess I would say, to be short with it, special in some type of way.
Yeah.
And I couldn't quite figure out what it was. But as I meet people like you guys, I'm over here, I'm infatuated. I'm analyzing you all the time because I feel like you guys are special. I feel like you guys have that same thing that I had that I couldn't put my finger on. So I'm always like looking at people to try to see what it is, and it's just something about the spirit. That's just what it is. It's just like what Jesus said. I think it's all laid out for us, honestly. It's just about us acknowledging it.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah, definitely some type of old soul. We all got these same characteristics in common. You know, different plants, but same characteristics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, cool. I think that kind of just wraps it up. Just wanted to say that.
I was gonna say when you said the NPCs, oh man, that's a phrase I say all the time. And like, man, you might get flack for saying that, basically.
No, it's like I don't want to believe that about anybody, but it's really interesting how sometimes I'll be praying about this. I'm like, I just, it's kind of like and I don't want to say that I don't know. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm targeted in really weird ways. Like just the other day, I was just driving my car and I live in a small town. And this guy he rolled down his window and yelled at me and pointed and he said, "You." And I was like, what the heck? Like, I'm a mom of two small children. I hardly even get out of the house. Like, I'm not out. Yeah, I don't know. It was so random. And I feel like I have those things that are happening to me. Like, I'll have a car pass by my house multiple times that I watch those things because I just watch those things. And
Hmm.
I'm like, what is going on? Like, I am no threat. And I just had really weird things happen to me like that, especially kind of lately. And I feel like more that I've been digging into this stuff, I just feel like I don't even know how to explain it. That might sound crazy to a lot of people, but and I'm like, are these just people who are like hooked up into the hive mind and they're like running a program, because I don't know. I don't even
I
know.
feel like that too. Like they'll send the signal, "Hey, you gonna go mess with her today." They don't even know they're doing it, but it's just.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well,
I feel
thanks.
like that all the time.
Okay. And that sounds crazy. I can't talk to anybody about that stuff because they're just like, what are you even talking about?
That's
Anyway.
exactly why you need a family like this to be able to talk to those things about.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
totally.
yeah.
We
Well,
were
thank
just talking
you.
about that on the phone.
Oh, funny. Okay, I gotta tend to my toddler, but I appreciate it. I'm gonna still listen. But
Oh,
No
thank you so
problem.
much
Thanks
for
for coming
coming
up.
up with great questions.
yeah, thanks.
Um, Let me make sure I get this one out of the way before she get mad at me. Where is it? Nikki Abba's daughter. Let me see. I want to make sure because I got like multiple notes of hers putting down somewhere. All right. I don't want to say the same one. She has 4 more questions, guys. uh, she said, as usual, you guys are great. Um, she said she got 4 more questions. She would like to know what the take is on from the whole panel on these verses. The verse that says he will leave the 99 to go get the 100 sheep that went astray. She wants to know what are our thoughts on the verse and is it Bar Abba or JC?
I think that's Bar Abba. I think that he knows who his children are, and he goes and he finds them wherever they're at, and he starts nudging them like, okay, listen to me now. That's how I feel. I feel like he did that to me. And it's like,
Just typed the same thing in the chat. He did that for me too. I mean, he came and
yeah,
pulled me out of New Age. I mean, I won't go into it right here, but I had quite a testimony on that day. So he does come after the one who's wandered.
I think we all feel like that too. Just like we were just talking about, we all felt special. Um, and then now here we are. So yeah, I do think he comes and he get that one sheep. I don't think that he would see us as a like as something monetary like that. Like, oh, it's not even worth my time to go get the other sheep. I'm just gonna stick with this 99. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So yeah, I think that would be the wrong spirit in general. So yeah, I think that's Baraba as well, Nikki. Her second question, the verse that says he will separate the sheep from the goats, is it Baraba or JC?
I think that is JC because the goats are gathered up and thrown in the fire. You know.
Make what if he's not saying that he's gonna be the one throwing them in the fire, but he's just trying to say, hey, let me get mine real quick up out of here. Just the way he separated the light from the darkness.
Yeah, I don't know on that
It
one.
it reminds me so much of separating the wheat from the tares, and that's Yahweh.
Okay. Hey, and the chat is spoken too. Kip says again, we can have differences of opinions. So yeah, that's our take on that one, Nikki. I do think that anything negative is definitely JC. I think with me, I'm really looking for him to say, I'm going to do this the way Yahweh claims that. Yahweh wears that stuff like a badge of honor on his chest. Where
Well, he did say be careful not to rip up the wheat with, like.
hmm you see what I'm saying? I
With
think it's just
Yahweh,
trying
you
to
have to be
save
careful
his,
because
trying
I
to
was going to
save
say
his
he's
from
dualistic,
someone
so you have to be
else's.
careful.
Yes.
That's why I always, emphasize, because you're seeing these deceptions and you're seeing this stuff. He is real and he is there for us. Don't ever just take it and toss it because his words are in that red letter text. Because heaven and
Yeah.
earth will pass away, but his words will never be gone. They'll be there when we're standing in heaven. They'll be right there with us too. You know.
When Jesus said it is written, and then he'll say this and that. He's not saying he wrote it. And that's kind of how I feel about this situation. If he's not saying that, I'm gonna throw you in a fire the way Yahweh says, I'm gonna hunt you down, and I'm gonna do this to you. Then
Yeah.
I think that there could be room for, and that's just me being a detective. You know what I'm saying? So I think that he's saying that before someone else do this to you, or before, you know what I'm saying, or before the other
Right. So
guy gets
just
you.
to like so it has been written this
Yeah.
that Yep. That
So
too.
and then your third question: believe what you ask for in my name, that you got it and you will have it. Is it Baraba or JC?
Read that again.
Believe what you ask for in my name, that you got it, and you will have it. At least that's what she wrote. And then she's asking, is that Baraba or JC?
That's that verse where it's like, ask anything in my name, and and he'll do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know on that one. I'd have to think about it.
That one could be either because Yahweh does that a lot, where he promises, that he'll do this and that and give them this. If you want to win the war, just come to me, and
Mm-hmm.
um, you have to be careful because there are some that are dualistic, and if they do, doesn't mean that it wasn't Barabbas, but those are the ones that are tricky.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just say something about that too. I wonder if, because I think about, I was really deep in a New Age also, and like the manifestation stuff, like it's real. I've had crazy experiences of manifestation where I, did the whole vision board thing and affirmations, and I had things that were like they happened, like to the T, the color of something, you know what I mean, whatever. And so I'm wondering, I get really nervous about that scripture because I'm like, is it kind of teaching like manifestation, and I don't know
It
if that
does
kind of,
kind of sound like it, doesn't it?
yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to fall into that trap or have anybody else because I feel like, I don't know. It's like, oh, you can have whatever you want, if, kind of thing. You just have to ask me for it. And I don't know. I just kind of get weird feelings when I read that scripture.
I
But
bring up that one where he heals the boy and they ask him who sinned. He said nobody. That's so that the theos of this world, his works will be known.
Mm.
It's like, so sometimes things bad happens and it's like it's happening so we can realize that we're not in Father's world.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that I'm always looking at the principles of what Jesus taught, and feel like he was trying to tell us to be humble, not to necessarily try to gain our way out of a situation, but to remain steadfast in our beliefs and faith in any situation.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm very questionable about that one as well, Nikki. So I'm sorry. Um, Her fourth question, and I'm glad you brought this one up. If your brother sins against you and repents, forgive him. Is this Barabbas or JC? I say Barabbas just off of the naked statement alone.
I think so too. It's pretty much self-explanatory. It's like, and he said if we forgive others, that he'll forgive us. It's like,
Yeah, and he forgives. You know,
yes, he does.
and
Pray for those who persecute you, you know? So, yeah, I agree.
yeah, and you know what's real important about that part to me? If your brother sins against you and repents, forgive him. That means the person got to say sorry. Now, I'm not saying that Jesus didn't say forgive them for they know not what they do, but those are people that knew not what they do. If you know you did your brother wrong and you're not even gonna say sorry, to me that's a big thing. You gotta say sorry. You gotta put that
Right.
pride aside and say sorry. Not only to the father to repair that relationship, but to your brother or your sister. And Jesus said so himself. He said, woe to the then he said, what verse is that? Where he said that if you haven't forgiven your brother,
To leave everything and go do it right then. Don't wait.
right away
Yep.
before unless the judge come or something like that and
Right.
cast you into the, yeah. I wish I can say it exactly. Sorry.
Tracy has a good comment. I think it's just about the fact that our mind is powerful, and Yahweh would like us not to use it. So
What was she referring to when she said that about or she just saying in general we have a powerful mind and Yahweh hopes we don't use it? Because
right.
yeah, okay. I mean, it makes
Well,
sense to me.
logos is for the word, like in the Septuagint, the word for word is rima, not logos. But logos is a different way of saying a word. It's like it's saying the logic of the word. It's like it's the complete picture of I don't. It's where we get the word logic from, literally. So he's saying the logical word, the real. It's like use your brain. You know, I'm the logical word.
Hmm.
You know.
There's a few more, mostly comment. I think there might only be like one more question somewhere in this.
Okay.
Let me see. I just jumped to Nikki's because I knew where it was, and she be letting me have
I
it,
like
man.
covering these questions. That helps me a lot because I don't have to worry about finding all of them, like trying to pin all of them down.
Yeah, and I started cheating the system here instead of writing them down. You know, I'm just going on my laptop while we're on the show, and it's like so now I got
Well,
to scroll through.
I get to get a little presentation together so I can share new stuff I find, and then it's like that takes time during the day. Then I go and read the messages. That takes time and try to reply to people, and
Hmm.
then I have to upload when I'm done. That takes another hour or so. It's like it adds up really fast.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not like y'all having to work a job. I would be pulling
Oh, you
my
should
hair
see
out.
me. Oh my goodness. I be having a earbud in, one foot doing this, writing this down over here. It's bad. I had to stop.
Shannon has a good question.
Which Jesus said, if your brother has something against you, and you are on the way to the temple, huh?
Leave
Oh,
your
leave
gift
your
at the
gift at the
altar.
altar and go make peace. Yes, yeah. I believe that was Barabbas. I think that's the verse I was referring to.
Yeah, it is. Um, the only thing that kind of bothers me about the temple, but um, some of those words in there are not really like the Yahweh's temple. They're just a sacred place. So I'd have to look at that word for temple because some places it's actually a synagogue and other places it's not.
Yeah, sometimes I noticed that Jesus would use their, just their wording or their ideas and principles against them. You know, but our car said on the reference of Gamaliel being called camel. I
Uh-huh.
wonder if this could also be a reference to James the Just, who had knees like a camel. Wouldn't it be
Oh,
something if
that's
James the
interesting.
Just was Gamaliel? That's what he.
That's interesting because we know James the Just was a high priest and he was in the Holy of Holies all the time. And he wore the purple robe, and they paraded um, Jesus around in that high priest robe before they unalived him. You know, that could be.
What the Franson, I remember him. He said, "Thanks for reading my long comment about abilities and stuff." And honestly, I don't know if I really fully, because you remember there was one I was like, "Man, that's long."
Yeah,
Yeah, so I was like, I don't know if he was being sarcastic, but if he was, that's a good one. But he said, "I thought maybe the withering of the fig tree was some kind of demonstration of how this place works, but I didn't pay attention to there being a curse involved. So JC being mean to a tree just because he guessed, or I guess, but yeah,
I would think that was definitely JC.
yeah. I mean, because I don't think the real one curses at all or anything. So yeah,
No, uh-uh.
let me see. He also said regarding Paul's teacher Gamla. Gamla is Swedish for old, plural, pointing to several old somethings or someones. The singular gamal is very close phonetically.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
I feel like I just read Spanish basically because let me see. Yeah, because I have no idea what he's talking about on that one. Regarding Paul's teacher Gamla, where you guys get this stuff from? Paul had a teacher named Gamla.
Yeah, and it means camel.
Dang. Okay, that's why I'm lost.
Ah,
uh,
so does that go with James the Just? Because wasn't
yeah, he was said to
what did
have
you?
knees like a camel.
Yeah, that really does sound like it does.
Yeah, that's what he was bringing up. Yeah.
That's
The
interesting.
Jeanette said the reason people want the day of the Lord to come is that they think the rapture is going to happen at the same time as the day of the Lord.
True, that's what most of the Christians are saying. They think that they'll be pulled out, and they may both come.
Ilana said the Essene revelation tells you why you have to go back after a near death or a near unaliving experience. Um, and she said you are right. It is some kind of illusion or deception.
Yeah, that could be too. But they are so realistic. I don't know.
I know, right? But it says that he'll deceive even the elect. You know, like or he would be able to see to deceive even the elect. And then especially when he gives life to that beast, a lot of people are going to be deceived because that's like the main thing separating them is the being able to give life, and he's going to uh do that in a fake way. The way you give life to a computer with
Right.
electricity. And then see now we're at Nikki's comment, which we already got. So that means there's only these. Field sleeper, what 7 churches? He asked. All in Asia. 2 Timothy 1:15. The book of Revelation is addressed to all who had abandoned Paul, saying, there are those calling themselves apostles who are not. Who are these referring to in Revelation? Paul, Timothy. The Jewish Encyclopedia states the book to be anti-Paulinian. He's speaking of Revelations. That's kind of how I first kind of got on to Paul being a false apostle. Back when I thought the other apostles were real apostles, even back before I knew that real apostles meant something negative, so that they are real apostles. Fucking so many twists and turns, man. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that, artist?
I don't know.
You know, I think Revelations called Paul out. Revelations 2:20 spoke about those that was teaching people to eat food sacrificed to idols. Well, Paul
Yeah,
taught
no,
that in
that,
First
yeah, that's
Corinthians.
probably him. Yep.
Yeah,
Tim,
yeah.
Shannon has more questions there.
Oh, snap. See, I'm looking at a separate screen. I'm sorry, Shannon.
That's okay.
Hold on. Do you think the JC stories in the Apocrypha might be true? They claim some crazy stuff as a child. The JC stories in the Apocrypha. Oh, the JC stories. Um,
Now they
honestly,
could be calling out the other one, the earthly one, in a sense. I hadn't really looked at it that way, but they have him doing all kinds of weird stuff in those. Like one of them, I think he unalives a bird and then alives it again or something.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Uh huh. There's some wild stuff in there.
I I think that some of the stuff is well, at least some of it's true because I really don't think anyone else got the power to give life other than the real Jesus. You know, but as far as like the other stories of like like what happened in there, maybe the wars and all that stuff. Like as a historical standpoint, I think a lot of it is kind of true. I think they just kind of twisted how we're looking at it. Like I think all the stuff that happened in the Old Testament with Yahweh unaliving the Canaanites and still unaliving and destroying. I think all that stuff is true. I think it happened in history. They say, I don't know how true it is, and I don't know what you guys think of it, but how they found the chariot wheels that has basically become coral reefs. They found hundreds and hundreds of them in the Red Sea, where Moses was supposedly had crossed, where Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, made him chase him all the way through, and then unalived all those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they say that they found those things. I don't know how true it is, but yeah, I think those things possibly happened, including the Sodom and Gomorrah accounts and all that stuff. That was the last question, by the way, on YouTube.
Oh. Does anybody else have any from that's listening?
You sound far away, artist.
I'm sorry, I got something to drink. I forgot to put my mic back down. uh, does anybody have anything that, from the audience that would like to? I'm glad you said something.
Kip says they claim they
The,
found
the
Noah's Ark.
only
But go ahead, Ellen.
the only thing that I was going to say was with all this stuff they're claiming that they found, like the wheels of the chariots and the different things. Well, um, through artist research, we can see that all this stuff supposedly happened in Italy rather than in the East. So if they're claiming that it's in the East, I don't think I believe it. Unless, do you know what I mean? Like, because all the biblical things are supposed to be um, in Italy. So
Right.
how are they finding all this
Well, I
stuff
noticed that
in?
too because Moses couldn't have come out of Egypt, like they said, because they were making bricks. The pyramids are not made out of straw bricks. They're made out of cut stones.
Yeah, and I think that they could make up a lot of stories, and you know, I mean, come on, they've faked dinosaurs, they've done all kinds of stuff. I don't believe what they say. I tend to believe what artists has shown us about the biblical happenings being in Italy rather than in the East. So their stories can't align, as far as I'm concerned.
I do think that they left some fake trails for us to follow. But
Oh, for
they won't
sure.
leave fake trails unless they're trying to hide real ones.
Absolutely.
I
So
agree.
yeah, something had some of that stuff. Something happened.
Oh, I think it happened, Tim. It's not that I don't think it happened. Where they say it happened, I think
It's
is off,
false. Agreed.
which makes me think that they're fake remnants of what they say they found, because we know according to the studies, that it happened in Italy, but they want us to believe that it's in the East. And they're trying to, I mean, it's the same as, like I said, with the dinosaurs. Like they fake the dinosaurs, and they, you know, like I went through the National Nature Museum with my granddaughter the other day, and I couldn't even go through it without like opening my big mouth about every single thing that was in there that was a lie. You know, so I think there's a lot of lies.
Yeah.
Yep. They're
Yes,
covering up
Lady
something.
Marie, the moon landing.
Oh
Sorry,
my
Tim.
goodness. Yeah, that used to make me mad, man, because it's like you guys really think that they call people on the moon on a landline?
that, that
I
is funny.
know, and we fell for it too.
Right? And I'm over here saying that I fell for it too. But yeah, a landline. I'm like, dang, so what's it hooked up to on the other side?
My sister
Oh,
finally
it's
got
just
that one,
insane.
and I'm like, there is hope. There is hope
Oh,
for
good.
her.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the first you've said something about her actually getting something. That's good.
Anybody
I
else have
think
any questions?
we got them all already. There's some people I haven't heard. I mean, Lady Marie, is this your first time joining us on the live? Because I see you on the YouTube all the time. I didn't know that was, it was you, but I never believe. Yeah, Vita says she never believed when they speak of the moon, when they say they went to the moon. Oh, okay, that's cool. Marie says she is here a lot. That's what's up. Yeah, when you look at the stuff that they say that they went to space in, it's curtain rods and stuff. It's like, come on, bro.
Honestly, when I see that stuff now, I'm just like, how gullible are
Aluminum
people? Like, how
foil, yeah.
blind.
I'll believe them if they said there was baking a potato in it.
Exactly.
That's what it looks like. Yeah, duct tape and stuff.
I know, I just saw that. That was funny. Oh, Tracy.
I like that shot they did that somebody found that there was a groundhog in the background. that
Oh my,
was that
Oh,
was
oh,
yeah.
hilarious. Yeah.
I missed that one.
Yeah, that was funny.
I remember going to see
So when
Apollo 13 in the theater though, and I loved that movie, and it was long before I was awake.
Oh, I know. I know.
And like Marie said, Marie's like, and now they say they've lost the technology, they destroyed it. Yeah, right. You know, like
Yeah.
again, we didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday. You know,
It was so important to go. You can only do it one time.
Tracy, I'm not drinking their Tang.
Silly wabbits.
I love it, you guys. I'm just glad our eyes are open because we were blind too.
Yeah, sadly. The idea of gravity kills me because
I
you know
know.
you're supposed to be the Earth is supposed to be spinning 1,000 miles per hour, and if you do
Yeah.
that to any ball that's wet, the water's gonna collect at the middle and spin off. So gravity's
Yep.
supposed to be so strong is that it's stopping billions of gallons of waters to not move, to not spin off of. You know what I'm saying? But then I can go on a boat and put my arm out in that same ocean, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
or someone that
I
lost their
believe nothing
balloon.
they say.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like when somebody mentions science now, I just cringe. I'm sorry, guys. I just cringe. Doctors, lawyers, you know, like everything. It's just like, I'm sorry, I don't believe you guys. Nothing. Tracy,
Like
gravity
Tracy
is
said
too
earlier.
fake, and I've out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
did you guys know
go ahead.
airplanes don't even fly on fuel? They fly on air. There's no fuel.
I know.
There's fuel at
I know.
takeoff, but there's no fuel.
They tell you. they tell you the fuel's in the wings.
Wins. Yeah.
And then when you hear how much fuel it supposedly takes, it just wouldn't fit in the wings. Not to
No.
mention the wings would fall off.
Right.
It's crazy.
You said climate change, Jen? Hold on. Dang it. Oh, okay, yeah. But climate change, she said a glass full of ice doesn't overflow when the ice melts.
That's right.
Yeah, it's true. I don't.
Yeah, climate change is hard. You're right, Tracy. There's no climate change. It's a hoax.
Yeah, because I was gonna say if I drive from here to Orlando, I see a whole bunch of green. They try to say that that we're running out of resources and this and that, and it's like just me driving an hour away from my own place, I see a whole
Yeah, they
bunch of
use
green on
their
the interstate.
jets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, we got plenty of resources, and this stuff replenishes. They to say that is to say that Father's creation is fallible. Like he didn't know what he was doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take a flight anywhere, and you see plenty of that. Yep. I never took a flight before.
You've never flown, Tim?
I've been on
Rose is up there,
airplanes a lot,
guys.
but I never took a flight. Yeah. Hey, Red Rose.
Red. Yeah.
Hey everybody.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. Hey artist, I have a question for you because I'm not sure if you mentioned this in one of your YouTube videos or not, but I had a dream the other day and it was in your voice and it said watch for the W or something about a W. So was there like an old Roman coin or an old coin that had a W on it, or was there something about a W? I'm not sure.
Not that I know of. That's wild. It was in my voice. That's weird.
Yeah, it was in your voice and it said watch out for the W.
Wow.
And all I could think of was on TikTok, up until recently, they had that one gift coin that had a W on it.
Huh. That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh, Nathan dreamed about me too. Oh wow.
I've had dreams about a lot of people here on TikTok, so I guess you're one of them. So,
Well,
yeah.
we kind of all connect on this crazy thing, you know.
Yeah, I've been having dreams about TikTok since like 2019.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Man, artist, you got everybody dreaming about you over here. Nathan said he dreamt about you 2 nights ago.
Yeah, my
Jeez.
dream was like a couple nights ago, and it was just her voice. Just the voice, Sarah.
I'll keep an eye out if anything does turn up on that. I'll let you know.
Alrighty. Well, I'm off to bed. I just saw you were on, and I haven't seen you on since I had that dream, so.
Oh,
Just
okay.
want.
Well, we were glad to have you up.
All right. Talk to you later.
Okay, we love you.
Nice to
Love
meet you.
you too. Nice to meet
Bye.
all of you. Bye.
Nathan's like, same for me with the voice, but it was her telling me to do better.
Oh no.
I get that all the time from my own mom's voice, you know?
Yeah, that might just be the age thing. That may be just me being older.
Motherly figure. Not everyone have it. I think some women don't have that nurturing spirit kind of deal. Someone's smacking the heck out of this thing.
Oh, that was me. Sorry, I was trying to get us to 50.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the 50,000.
Oh,
Sorry, I
wow.
have one last question. I know
I
it's
was trying to
kind of
help.
late for
I'm
everybody.
smacking into.
Okay.
So this is kind of so you guys were talking about the rapture earlier, but I couldn't get on. But there's this lady that I follow on YouTube, and she has this interesting theory about the rapture actually alluding to the uploading of the consciousness to the certain people. So it's not necessarily like, how a lot of Christians think that they're going to get taken up and escape the wrath and all this stuff, but she has some interesting theory that she kind of has, her own little proof about it or whatever. But it is interesting because she shows how different like artists in Hollywood, how they allude to like the rapture, or like movies. There was this movie called oh my gosh, I think it was by Key and Peele, if anybody knows who that is. Two comedians, and they have this movie, and it's called oh my gosh, what is it called? Like,
Is it like This Is Us or
yeah,
something
like
like
one
that?
of those, yeah. But it's
Oh
it's one
man.
of those, and they talk about the rapture, and he's like, and it's funny because all of like basically the kind of evil people go up, and then like, the normal people get left. So I thought it was kind of interesting that like so they so these people in this movie, they're like druggies anyway. They're just kind of like, these dudes or whatever, and they get taken up into whatever this heaven is, and the heaven that they get taken up to is actually like Lucifer, like Lucifer's heaven, essentially. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I thought that's interesting. But there's a lot of rap artists that are talking about the harvest right now, the harvest and like the rapture, the taking, just a bunch of stuff. So I didn't know if anybody has ever seen any of that kind of stuff, what their thoughts are. But
When I would
from
watch
what
Christian movies, I would see stuff like that, and I would notice that the person that's left behind would be the person that was the most dedicated to being good. And there's always
yeah,
someone in there that's like, oh, how, why? He's all brokenhearted, and it's almost like he loses his own faith. Uh,
yeah,
but yeah, I've seen that a lot too. I started noticing that too, that they put those in those Christian movies, and then even in Revelations 14:14, you don't hear nothing good happening to the ones that get taken up. Um, they get trampled on, destroyed.
right. Well, and have you guys seen the kind of like alien invasion things where it's like, there's this idea that these UFOs are going to come, and then they're going to start like, telling people, oh, we're going to save you because, the world's become so bad, and all you have to do is just get on the ships, to save you from the world. And, like I've heard other people talk about that being like what has been alluded to as the rapture, like people, essentially they're choosing to join or follow whatever these beings are. You know what I mean? I don't know. Kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
that's like that movie with called Knowing. Remember
Knowing,
that
yeah,
with Nicolas Cage?
right, yeah, the
That
kids,
was the
yeah,
same kind of concept. That was wild.
yeah. There's multiple movies like that, which is
Yeah.
I was just
anyway.
thinking about this. I was just thinking, Taylor, like on your subject there. You know how they're doing Mars on Earth, and they're doing these other planets that they say that they're going to these planets, but they're literally on Earth. Who's to say that they're not going to pick them all up in these ship, alien ships that they're not really alien, and take
Absolutely,
them
yeah,
to what is Mars on Earth, when they think they're all raptured, into a new world or into a new heaven or whatever. Yeah, like Tracy said, Greenland is Mars.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, right? These like, I don't think they're extraterrestrial either. I mean, obviously,
No.
but
Yeah.
some spiritual entity, right?
Exactly.
I think that there's something to it. Also, oh, did you guys see that in New York City? Like, I think it was 4 days ago or 5 days ago, they did this Project Bluebeam. Sorry, I don't know if that's like too much to say on here, but this UFO was in New York City that they projected, and people were literally running from it. People thought it was real, and there was like these like beings that were being beamed out of it. Super crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like they're doing. I think they're kind of like testing to see how it goes, right? The whole last, what is it called? The Super Bowl that just happened recently. they had a bunch of like UFO alien, like stuff in it. And it's like, what are they trying to do here? Anyway, and then like to talk about the rapture is coming. Like, I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. Who knows?
I think it's that whole manifesting thing. They speak on what's about to happen, and it's kind of like that whole law that they have to let us know at the same time. I think it's like three birds, one stone kind of deal, and they're just doing their work.
Have y'all considered, since both of them were here at the same time, what if both are here again?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's an interesting point. I also think that. Here, there you go. I also think that. So this is another thing too, and maybe you guys can have something on this, but I almost feel like the Jesus that they promoted, like the picture, like the long hair, that kind of thing. I feel like that is like a deception, because I feel like when that one comes on the scene, we're like, oh, we've seen that one for forever. It's that one. I just feel like that. I feel like that's a deception, and the reason why I'm thinking this more and more. I was praying about this the other day, and again, this is not saying this is true. I'm just saying it was interesting that this happened. But this random video comes on my YouTube feed, and it's of a possession from the 80s, and it's like grainy, video, and this lady is like clearly possessed. Like, it's not fake. It was just like, I don't think it was fake. I don't even know how she could have faked this, but she was foaming at the mouth. Sorry, this is like too much for people. It was really intense. And she was saying, and she was in a room with like a Catholic priest or whatever, and he was talking to this woman, and she was like, I don't follow, or what'd she say? It was something like, your savior is a FAG, and she was saying, your savior is a FAGGOT, and just like saying it over and over, like, no man has what'd she say? Something like, no man should have long hair or something like that. I need to go back and listen to it. But basically it was like your long-haired FAG savior like won't save you, kind of thing. I thought that was super interesting, because she kept reiterating that long hair looks like a girl, like, you know what I mean? It was like, whoa, like, that's interesting. So I almost have this idea maybe that Jesus Bar Abba actually like didn't look like what they tell us he does. I don't know if anybody has anything on that.
Yeah, the typical. He doesn't look typical, I guess. I could see that.
My only thing is how they got him how they would get him confused with the other one. I really don't understand that.
Yeah.
I think that they
I
had to
don't think
have.
it's. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, you finish.
My screensaver went off. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna say, like, when they like, I don't see how they did have him confused with the other one, because obviously they should have looked different, right? Which is why they had to like beat his face up and stuff like that and hide his face and
And that's why
whatnot.
they didn't recognize him and stuff like that. One time they did, the next time they didn't. But I don't think it's going to matter what he looks like. I think it's going to matter what we are going to know him by how he speaks and who he comes across as. That's why I believe you have to know his character. That's why I believe that we're learning how to separate the two Jesuses.
Yeah, I
I
agree with
agree
that.
completely,
Yeah,
because he knew they were gonna do this, so I think
yeah,
that's why he said you need to know a tree by its fruits.
that's right.
Anybody have anything else they want to add?
How to rightly divide Jesus. That's true. One from the other. Make sure you pull the right one out of the box.
Man,
Yes, Shannon, you're right. JC. So no matter what Barabba comes back looking like, JC, if he's a shapeshifter, can shapeshift into whatever Barabbas looks like. So you can't go by the looks. You have to go by. Maybe that's another reason why we're not supposed to have statues and like pictures and all that other kind of stuff that we're not, not just worshiping, but because
We're preparing
we're
ourselves.
not
Yeah.
supposed to go by the looks. You're supposed to go by the character. Now, isn't that funny how we're all supposed to judge people by our, not by what we look like, not the book by the cover? Like there's so many different parallels and analogies that can go along with that.
And he could appear to each person like they think that what he thinks you could accept too, because it's like that's why I did that series of paintings, the faces of Jesus, because each person sees him like their own race, their own kind. It's like
I
it's
think
just kind
you're right. There's such a controversy about what he looks like.
right that he could
He
appear to
would,
each one as who has however that person is comfortable with him looking.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They kind of went with that in the shack too, but they made him a woman, which that was kind of weird to me. But I thought the guy was really thinking that wrote that book, because I thought to myself, that is something to consider. What could you accept, mentally when you see him?
Yeah. Now, Kip has a question there. He's just wondering about John 1:6 saying, or it says John was sent. And I did see that.
Yeah, I've seen that before too.
It's interesting.
For a while, I wondered if John wasn't the one that said that John was sent. What if he wasn't the one?
Yeah, because they asked him that too, didn't they? Well, they asked him if he was the Christ, right?
Right. And he
And he,
denied that he was the Christ.
yeah.
You know.
Hmm. What did they do with John's body? I heard a rumor that they devoured it.
Um, According to the tradition, they tried to unalive him in boiling oil and were not successful. And that's why he was put on the island in exile.
Oh, I meant
That's.
with the Baptist.
Oh, say that question again then, because I was thinking of the other John.
The John the Baptist, the one that had his head on a charger.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I heard that they ate it, which is very.
That's gross. Now, I do know that they had, when you see pictures of John the Evangelist, he's holding the chalice with a snake serpent coming out of the cup. And the Catholics explain that away, saying that he had drank the venomous waters in and lived, that somebody tried to poison him. But I think it's kind of weird, since the cup is what they use for communion. It's like a communion cup, and it has a serpent coming out of it.
Hmm.
Part of me wishes I had never been Catholic at this point.
Yeah, come out of her, my people comes to mind.
Yep. And see, I don't see that as an unforgivable sin either. You know. In fact, I've wondered about if there are any unforgivable sins, or if that wasn't JC saying that.
Hmm. Be nothing to come out of if you can't be forgiven for it.
One, they say there's only one, but you've got that, then you've got the mark of the beast. Um, oh, and the one, like, if you forget to forgive somebody, you wouldn't be forgiven either.
Hmm.
So that's really three. Yeah, it's true, Tracy. Sin is a Yahweh thing. I do think that Father puts in our heart, though, the way we are supposed to live. And I think a child even knows when they do something wrong. Like if they pick up a piece of candy in the store and they hid it and mama didn't pay for it. I think we have our own internal thing that Father gives us to know right from wrong. And when we mess up, we automatically, if we have a good relationship with Him, go, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. And we ask forgiveness automatically.
I agree.
Well, guys, I hate to call it now because we still got a pretty good crowd, but it's getting kind of late, and everybody had to do the time change, so we've been
I
on
just got out like four times.
almost 2.5 hours. So
Yeah, it was a good one.
I think it was a very good one.
I can't wait to go back and listen to it tomorrow because sometimes in the beginning I'm so focused on getting everything, up there and everything that I miss out on it. So tomorrow, the
I
next day is
know.
always my catch-up day.
I like to go back and listen too, but I hate hearing myself. I
Hmm
don't like hearing myself recorded.
None of us like
None
to
of
hear our
us like our
voices.
own voice. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I love all you guys, and I hope y'all have a great night.
Love
Everybody
y'all
get some
Love
too.
you
good
too.
rest.
Thanks,
And
artist.
Thanks, artist.
Night, guys.
Night,
night,
y'all. Love
guys.
you.
Good night, everybody.
Night.
Night.